Hello, my name is Jennifer Wilson, and I'm with the Gulfport School District. And today we're going to talk about standard RL.4.4, determining the meaning of words and phrases that allude to characters found in mythology. So let's get started. Using mythological characters as phrases in literature. Okay, so in mythology, there are stories about gods and goddesses. There's lots of adventures, but they also tend to have a lesson attached to them. Authors use mythology to make a special point in the story. At times, authors will use unknown words that allude or mention to these well-known characters from myths. So to understand these words, you must know the important characters from these myths. So let's look at some examples. One you may have heard or seen of is a Herculean effort. The mayor and his advisors gave a Herculean effort in trying to get all of the debris cleaned from the streets after the storm. Okay, so what does that mean? It means a strong or great effort or a mighty try. So why do we say this, and where does this come from? Hercules had to perform 12 extremely difficult labors. He had to finish these tasks that no one else could complete. We know, however, that Hercules is famous for his great strengths and smarts. So since he was able to do something no one else could, we now say a great effort is a Herculean effort. So that is where that phrase comes from. And when you see it in a story, you can think of Hercules and how he had to complete these really, really hard tasks. Okay, another one, an Achilles heel. Okay, so for example, in a sentence, Matt is a strong math student, but fractions are his Achilles heel. So what that means is it's a weakness or a flaw. So where does this come from? So Achilles was a great warrior, and he was a hero in the Trojan War. Achilles' mother was a sea goddess. When he was a baby, she was told that he would die at a young age. And his mother did not want that to happen, so she dipped him in the river Styx. This was supposed to make anybody who dipped any part of their body into the river, it made them invincible or unbeatable. However, when she dipped him in there, she did it by his heel, making the part of that body part, it made it vulnerable. So during the Trojan War, he was shot in the heel, and it was his only weak spot with an arrow, and he was defeated. So that is why we say, or you might see it in a story, that someone's Achilles heel or something that's an Achilles heel is a weakness or a flaw. Let's look at some more examples. The Midas Touch. Here's an example. Alicia has the Midas Touch. She wins all of the awards she's nominated for in school. So what does that mean? Having good fortune in everything you do. Okay, so where does this come from, the Midas Touch? King Midas was a very wealthy and greedy king. Even though he had already had a lot of gold, he wanted even more. So after doing the gods a favor, he was granted one wish. Midas, being the selfish and greedy guy that he is, wished that everything he touched turned to gold. This was called the golden touch. So in the beginning, Midas was happy with his wish. But then he started to realize that he could not even eat or drink because everything he touched turned to gold. He even turned his own daughter to gold when he was trying to hug her. King Midas then realized his selfish wish was not a blessing but a curse, and he wanted it gone. So after dipping himself in the river Ractolus, the golden touch was gone. So when you hear of someone saying the golden touch or the Midas touch, they're meaning that someone who has really good fortune in everything they do. Okay, let's look at some more examples. Okay, our next one you may have heard of as well, talking about an Odyssey. Dad didn't ask for directions when we went to Six Flags. He got us lost and we were on an Odyssey trying to find the park. So, what that means is a long journey. So, where does this come from? Odysseus was a famous Greek hero during the Trojan War. After winning the Trojan War, Odysseus set sail for home with his men. However, on the way home, his ship goes off course, and he ends up running into problem after problem. First, he met with Cyclops, had to fight the Cyclops. Then he met the Sirens, who lured him away from his path in his boat. And then he had to deal with a six-headed monster named Scylla. And then he had to control his boat while he was in a whirlpool called Charybdis. So after all of these adventures, it took him over 10 years to get home. So that is why when we say an odyssey or someone going on an odyssey, it just means a long journey. All right, so let's look at our last example. Okay, opening Pandora's box. Okay, let's look at our example. Every time I go to clean out my closet, it's like opening Pandora's box. I find more stuff I need to clean. So what that means is things have just gotten out of control or you're in trouble. So why do we say this? Zeus could be a very angry god. If someone made him angry, he was sure to get even with them. You did not want to get in his way. One way he did this with a woman named Pandora. He gave Pandora to a man for his wife, along with the box that was never to be opened. He made it specifically clear, do not open the box. Of course, Pandora, she was very curious. So one day, even though she was told not to, she opened the box. And so when she did this, all of the evils of the world came flying out. Things such as hate, death, and jealousy were let into the world, which before they did not exist. So the only good thing that came out of the box was hope. So now when you say open Pandora's box, it means that you are in or you've caused some type of trouble. So those are some examples that you probably have seen in some of the stories that you've read or you've even heard people say in everyday conversation. So let's talk about what we've learned. Okay, so we've learned about different mythological characters. We've also learned how to use context clues to figure out what the phrase means in the text. And also, you can use pictures to help you decide the meanings of the words in the text. So my challenge to you is the next time you see this, make sure you use those context clues and then also do some research to figure out what that story is about that mythological creature.